Okay, we are in Restream. Vimeo is in.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Good morning. I'm here in Crestone, Colorado, with EarthStock Eco Spiritual Summit. And it is day 6 of the Sparkling Conversations. This series was inspired by Humanity Rising. And to learn more about that, you can go to humanityrising.solutions. Now, you out there, you might be watching this on YouTube or Facebook Live or Regen Media TV or Vimeo. Or you could be viewing this in our virtual reality immersive experience. If you would like to join others who are watching and speak to today's panelists, please come to the Zoom rooms of the conversation.cc, where the panelists will join you when the broadcast is over.
This is the starting.
I hear some echo, so I'm hoping that this isn't coming through to you. Today's Sparkling Conversation was inspired by EarthStock's theme of the day, unity through the arts and culture. And our topic is becoming a coherent Uni-Verse, one song. We'll explore how our individual expressions become a part of a harmonious universal symphony. Our esteemed panelists will share their insights into how music, art, and sound can foster coherence in our lives and unity in the world. My friend Lisa Ayers, creator of Drawing Down the Moon system of Reiki, is with the watch party ongoing in the main Zoom room at theconversation.cc. We'll join them at the end of the broadcast. And just before that, Lisa will join us here to tell us what's been said out there, provide a summary of our conversation, and suggest questions for us to talk about when we join them at 10:30 Mountain Time. Now I'm going to introduce each of our panelists and invite them to tell us about their work. Then I'm going to offer a couple of parables to set the stage for our conversation, and then we'll dive a bit deeper with a question for each, and then engage in a group discussion. My first panelist, thank you very much for coming, is Kathleen Riley. Kathleen is a concert pianist and expert in biofeedback. She explores how music can heal and connect us to the rhythms of the universe. Kathleen, please tell us more about your work and how you see music playing a role in creating coherence.
First of all, thank you so much, Shannon, for inviting me to this beautiful celebration. And I'm so honored to be here with my esteemed colleagues and, of course, in support of this beautiful summit and Michael DiMartino's vision. It is my honor. So what I would love to do is share an image that is basically what I believe is the starting point for all of us when we think of music. And it is that we are instruments. We are ourselves instruments. And while we gaze at this image, I am going to read a beautiful piece of prose that was written in the 1940s by Alan C. Inman, who was known for nothing else but this beautiful piece. So I invite you to close your eyes or gaze at the image and just take this to your heart. I am music, most ancient of the arts. I am more than ancient. I am eternal. Even before life commenced upon this earth, I was here in the winds and the waves. When the first trees and flowers and grasses appeared, I was among them. And when humanity came, I at once became the most delicate, most subtle, and most powerful medium for the expression of people's emotions. When humans were little better than beasts, I influenced them for their good. In all ages, I have inspired them with hope, voice to their joys, cheered them on to valorous deeds, and soothed them in times of despair. I have played a great part in the drama of life, whose end and purpose is the complete perfection of humankind's nature. Through my influence, human nature has been uplifted, sweetened, and refined. With the aid of humanity, I have become a fine art. From Tubal-Cain to Thomas Edison, a long line of the brightest minds have devoted themselves to the perfection of instruments through which all may utilize my powers and enjoy my charms. I have myriads of voices and instruments. I am in the hearts of all and on their tongues, in all lands and among all peoples. The ignorant and unlettered know me not less than the rich and learned. For I speak to all in a language that all understand. Even the deaf hear me, if they but listen to the voices of their own souls. I am the food of love. I have taught humanity gentleness and peace, and I have led them onward to heroic deeds. I comfort the lonely, and I harmonize the discord of crowds. I am a necessary luxury to all. I am music. As we explore this a little more deeply, I'd like to invite us in through the heart, and through what we know about coherence, through our dear HeartMath Institute, of which I'm so honored to be a part as a HeartMath trainer for many years, but also what I know to be true as a musician. And it has to do with my intentions, my come from. What am I bringing? What seeds from my heart do I wish to express? And in Alan C. Inman's poem, when he said, you know, music is accessible to all, we are all there. We don't need to be the pianist. We don't need to have this concert level of ability, for we are musical instruments through our voice, through how we communicate with one another. And we are here, all of us as instruments, to harmonize, right? And to heal humanity. Music has been thus ever since the beginning of time, in all cultures, in all communities. It brought communities together. It was there to heal. It was present for every type of ceremony: birth, marriage, death, whatever. It's always been. And yes, there is music in nature. There's music within our beautiful Mother Earth. Here, if we but just simply walk and listen. But coherence is what it's about. And what creates coherence are your attitudes, your emotions, your thoughts. They're the most powerful drivers of everything we do. So I invite all of us to come into the heart for a moment. Breathe a little more slowly and deeply. And imagine your heart as a garden. You are the tender of the garden. So what seeds do you wish to plant in the garden of your heart? Remember that the seeds we plant, we nurture, we tend to, will grow. And through the heart's electromagnetic field, they reach out and touch all of humanity. So let us plant seeds of patience, seeds of compassion, seeds of caring, kindness, hope, forgiveness, tolerance, acceptance, love, for love is the highest vibration. But all of those seeds, we must also, as we plant them, give to ourselves, right? That's self-forgiveness, self-acceptance. We matter. We all matter. So I invite you to plant seeds deeply and throughout your days to remember to tend to them and nurture them with love.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. Oh, that's so beautiful. And you don't know how synchronous your imagery is. And I look forward to sharing that as we go forward. Thank you so, so much. I'm glad you're here. And now we move on to Kelly Boone. Kelly is the visionary behind the Pearl Stonehenge, a monumental project that seeks to unite humanity through art, music, and tribal prophecy. Kelly, please share more about this incredible initiative and how it contributes to global coherence. And while you're doing that, I will try to share the pictures that you gave us. And so let me do that. Carry on. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Shannon. It is with great gratitude that I am here and sharing with all of you and all of those who have joined us today. The distant echo of an elk bugles as dusk settles into the valley. A dim light emerges in the early fog within the center of a 91-foot medicine wheel with 4 long arrows reaching out into the 4 directions of the world. In the center is an altar with a large crystal bowl that holds the water of life. Supported by 4 stanchions, each bearing an eagle and a condor feather, a single pearl glows within the water of the altar. This light is the sweet promise of a new day. The medicine wheel is the circle of oneness, honoring all life on earth and beyond. When one suffers, we all suffer. When one celebrates, we all celebrate. The pearl is the 12 pearl gates to heaven on earth. We can hold off on this slide for a little bit, Shannon, and we'll wait for the next one. It stands for people engaging in the arts, rejoicing in life. Nearly 30 feet high and 93 feet in diameter, the Pearl Stonehenge, located in the 4 directions of the world, will prepare the way for ceremonial productions, lighting the 12 pearl gates, igniting them to the gates to heaven on earth, the Great Ascension. So we can pull that one back up now, the Stonehenge, if you like.
Thank you so much.
Supported by the men who love them, the women of the world will lead in the 4 heart centers of the world of Mother Earth, representing the 4 directions and the 4 colors of humanity. Each site will host the installation of a Pearl Stonehenge and ceremonial production of Humbalecha, which is a vision quest in the Lakota way, a cry for a dream. This was part of the beginning of that script that I just shared with you, of the story of the precious pearl told through the eyes of the condor and the eagle, the prophecy of the union of North, Middle, and South Americas, of the feminine and the masculine, that will help unite the world with all of the prophecies in union. The pearl is that gathering of humanity on earth, massive gatherings in the 4 directions of the world at the base of sacred cliffs. We will begin installing these pearl Stonehenges and creating these sacred spaces within this next year or 2. The Pearl Stonehenge represents the element of earth in connection with the star nations. They are antennae that connect the earth to all of the universes. And as we gather, the feminine shall lead. And all of the directions of the world will be supporting each of the ceremonies that happen in synchronicity. They will each happen together, everyone united, with mother drums surrounding the perimeter of the medicine wheel, with a water altar that supports the day we are in of the feminine rising through the birth giving of a new world, a new nation. This is the union of heaven on earth.
Well, Kelly, that is just a monumental undertaking. Oh my. Oh, I might take my hat off to you. Thank you so much. I look forward to listening and hearing more. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you.
And next we get to go and listen to, or bring Gary in to tell us, Gary is an Emmy award-winning composer who pioneers the use of music for healing and fostering global coherence. Gary, we'd love to hear more about your journey and how music can be a catalyst for compassion and connection.
Oh, my, what an auspicious opportunity. Well, I wanted to just talk with you about the different ways that I have devoted my life to that purpose. And then I realized when I was seeing Kathleen and Kelly's amazing presentations, I think I'd love to share this little 3-minute video that I'd love to share that I'm most excited about. May I do that?
If it works, that would be a wonderful thing.
Yeah. Well, I think I'm gonna, it kind of, so this is my new world, Global Wisdom Foundation. I'm trying to get out of the way of my logo. But what I'll say first is, my journey, it always started with using music as a catalyst for nuanced relationship to emotional response. And I'm really a lover of Brene Brown's work, especially the recent book, Atlas of the Heart, that talks about that when we're intimate with our emotional range and we actually expand our capacity to really have a nuanced relationship with our emotions, it's a powerful way to actually understand, as the universal language of human emotion, how music can awaken us into the present moment in radical and multidimensional ways. And I started with that journey as a film and TV and commercial composer in the 80s and 90s. And then in the end of the 90s, after a very serious accident that really awoken me to the reality of my mortality, Michael Stillwater and his wife Doris and I embarked on a journey where we recorded the voices of wisdom keepers. And nobody had ever really set intimate, authentic, tender messages from wisdom keepers to film scores before. And what we realized was it uncovered this thing that I never really understood, which is we've been living in this gradual, that story, it's a terrible story, but that metaphor of the frog jumping into a pot of hot water and popping itself out instinctively, and the frog that's put in a pot of cold water and incrementally heating itself to death. Unfortunately, we are the latter, and we're incrementally allowing our abilities to communicate, engage, and expand and evolve in less and less powerful ways because we've made the new normal of human engagement a neck up, prefrontal lobe, linear rational experience, giving lip service to engagement and connection, but actually minimizing our capacity to connect on multidimensional ways. And for me, multidimensional communication is full-on heart coherence, as Kathleen talks about, full-on soul coherence, full-on vibrational resonance coherence, full-on somatic coherence. These are all someday the future that I think Rudolf Steiner talked about how we will tune ourselves. They're going to be just like heart math is measurable. I think someday there's going to be soul, body, and spirit and somatic coherence levels that can be tested. But we ended up releasing this work called Graceful Passages, which has touched now over 1 million people in reframing death as something not to fear, but as something to awaken us to the radical preciousness of life. Right. So before I play this video, I just wanted to ask, because I so love and respect you as a wisdom keeper, Shannon, is there anything you want to ask? And then I'll take the 3 minutes to, if I haven't used it up all my time, I don't know.
No, Gary, you carry on. You're doing a marvelous job. I really look forward to seeing the video that you've got for us.
Well, it's so funny because this Global Wisdom Foundation, which is the logo that you're about to see, I just launched it. It's like I launched it, literally, the homepage was launched at the Holo Movement Conference in Ibiza, but it's really finally almost done completely. And I had done the video you're about to see, and I did about 8 takes, and then, and they said, okay, well, we can put something together. I said, no, I really want it to be bam. And so that's what you're about to see. And it said it. And it's this new vision I have for what I'm most excited about right now. So I'm going to share it. And thank you for the opportunity to do that. So I am going to share sound and do this. And there we go. And here I am talking about this. Hi, I'm Gary Malkin and founder of the Global Wisdom Foundation. When I was a kid, I remembered hungering for someone to just look at me and say, wow, I got you. I got your back. I'm here and I see you and I love you. Nobody ever said that to me as a child. The Global Wisdom Foundation is about creating these moments where you part the seas and create oases of calm and clarity from wisdom keepers, known and unknown, that are scored like a film, that awaken you in moments to this sense of out of the fear and the chaos and the lack of attention spans and the fragmentation that these times have provided into a presence where you remember who you are and what matters most. And that's what Global Wisdom Foundation is all about. We've created a new way for wisdom to be experienced that helps end the monopoly of the linear rational mind, so that we can ultimately learn how to think with our hearts and feel with our minds. And when that happens, watch out, because our presence results in a way of being with ourselves and each other that changes lives. But we're not just about delivering wisdom in new ways. We believe that having an experience of celebration around music as a great activator, the universal language of human emotion, music, has a destiny to fulfill, to remind us of who we are and what matters most. And we want you to consider inviting us to your faith-based community, your greater good community, your local cathedral, your institution, your college. And we have a set of offerings that you can find out about on this website. Presentations, workshops, and the capstone of it all, a performance, where we invite a local wisdom keeper in your area, a local singer-songwriter, a local storyteller, and we celebrate the power of connecting people through joy, through beauty, through unity, through celebration, and we remember the art of human being beyond our loyalties to our race, our culture, our dogma, and our beliefs. Please consider finding out more about what the Global Wisdom Foundation is all about. I have 500 hours of Wisdom Keepers I've recorded, and there's no way I can score it alone. I'm looking for philanthropic film composers. I'm looking for people on different continents that want to record Wisdom Keepers that we might not know about. There's a lot to be done, and we need you. We can't do this alone. We're celebrating the belief that wisdom isn't truly wisdom if it's not experienced with all of who you are in a way that makes a difference in the way you are, who you are, and how you show up. Why don't we create that new benchmark of spiritual maturity in the world we live in and give that to our children who are coming into the world in the future? Don't they deserve that? We deserve that. Join us and find out more.
Oh, Gary, that's beautiful.
So it's really the way, Kathleen said it so beautifully. I mean, Kathleen, that was such a, it's such a beautiful companion to what it is that this is based on, because Kathleen just so articulated that music is an unparalleled component that bridges form and formless in a way that activates what our capacity to vibrationally raise the frequency of our engagement and come home to the present moment in ways that radically change our presence and our level of engagement with ourselves and each other, as I said. So to me, of course, I look through the lens of my music, of course. But Kathleen, I love how you articulated the why of this all and the reason for Shannon's beautiful articulation of the theme of this day.
Well, thank you so much, Gary. And we are going to get into group conversation so she can respond. But first, what I'd like to do now is provide, to set the stage for our deeper discussion. I'm going to share two little stories that highlight the power of coherence and unity. The first is the Symphony of Life. Imagine an orchestra preparing to perform a symphony. Each musician represents a different aspect of our lives, our thoughts, emotions, action, and spirit. Before the conductor raises the baton, there is a cacophony of sound as each musician plays their own tune, disconnected from the others. But when the conductor, representing the guiding force of the universe, brings them together, they create a harmonious and beautiful symphony. Just as the orchestra needs coherence to perform a symphony, we need to align our inner selves and connect with the universe to create harmony in our lives. When we listen to the conductor, the universal rhythm, we find our place in the grand symphony of life. The second story is the power of collaboration. And Kathleen, I think you'll like this one. In a distant village, there was a field of wildflowers that never seemed to bloom fully. Each flower struggled on its own, competing for sunlight and nutrients. One day, a wise gardener came and began to care for the field. Instead of focusing on each flower individually, the gardener nourished the soil, ensuring that all the flowers received what they needed. Over time, the flowers began to grow in harmony, each contributing to a vibrant, unified field. When we collaborate and support each other rather than competing or acting in isolation, we can create a thriving, coherent community. The garden represents our world, and the gardener's care symbolizes the nurturing of unity and coherence amongst us. So now I'd like to transition into a panel discussion, and I'm going to, I'd first like to hear your response. What came to mind for each of you as you heard those stories? Kathleen, let's start with you and then go to Kelly.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing those. Just beautiful. And Gary and Kelly, I'm just so, it was just so wonderful and inspiring to be with you both and see your beautiful shares as well and hear them. So I'd love to speak to your first share, Shannon, of the orchestra. And this is a lot of the work that I'm doing. In fact, I'm honored to be going to Washington in, I don't know, 5 weeks to be working with members of our Air Force Band. And there is a story that our dear friend Jonathan Goldman wrote about in his book, and he and I have talked about often. And it is when he had the opportunity to go and hear the same symphony orchestra perform the same piece of music conducted by two different conductors. And there was a kinesiologist with him. So he had, muscle strength tested, respiratory rate, and heart rate. Now, the results were quite interesting. And this was a story that actually inspired me to do the research I did with HeartMath in 2018. After performance number 1, the results were Jonathan had strong muscle response, low resting heart rate, deep respiratory breathing. Perfect. Performance number 2, weakened muscle response, elevated heart rate, shallow respiratory breathing. And the research head in me said, oh my gosh, there's one variable, and it's a conductor. What's the story behind that? So I went on to read, and Jonathan and I have talked about it as well. The first conductor was one that I know many of, and it's like this wonderful old soul who just had such a deep love of music, love of his musicians, and love of sharing music. Okay, yes, that's what we're all talking about today, the unity. The other conductor came in with a little bit of an ego, or maybe a big bit of an ego, and this is my show, you'll do it my way. And I'm reading this, and I'm thinking, oh, what about the musicians under the baton? And this is what I know to be true, that the coherence that come from the attitude of one person walking into that room is going to affect the entire field. And we know that this is what we are facing in our world. So how do we do that? Well, we have to learn and teach each one how to be in coherence, first of all. Now, we talk about the musicians who are coming in, and I talk about this often with sound healers as well as regular musicians. I'm like, okay, so are all of you coherent? Are all of you in tune? My logo, in tuning the instruments. Are you all in tune as an instrument? When you're walking into that rehearsal, Roland McCready, the director of research at HeartMath, he said to me, oh my gosh, none of them in the world would show up at a rehearsal or concert without an instrument in tune. Never. But are they in tune? Oh my gosh, no. Who was running late? Who came in after having an argument with somebody at home? Who had the flat tire? And they come in and they are in the cacophony. Yeah. And that's disruptive. So here's the bigger invitation, that we are the instrument as well. Okay, let's tune our strings. So that was just so beautiful. Thank you. I had to jump in with that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kathleen. I appreciate your perspective. It's wonderful. Kelly, what do you think?
I agree. I believe everything has to start here. And if we want to help the world love each other, we start by loving ourselves. And so I was teaching a dance residency years ago with second graders. We're all in a circle, and I felt this light come over me. And we all reached our arms out and wrapped them around and went, I love myself. And I realized, my goodness, if everybody did that, everybody grew up doing that in the world, what a different world we would live in. So as we translate that through the arts, which is creation, we're all created to create. That's what we do with the Stonehenge that's going to be built, is we're inviting people to come to the center of that medicine wheel, hold their hands on those giants that hold the epochs of wisdom of time, and let the spirals of the bones of the earth connect with the bones of our being. So each of us has the opportunity to co-create this new world. When we come together in the huge ceremonies, this is where we have the cacophony of union, because it will be orchestration. It will begin with the sound of an elk horn drifting through the valley. And there will be beautiful regalia as all join together in the finale, representing the nations of the world. There will be giant puppets and dancing and singing and drumming and visually beautiful colors dancing on the cliffs. So it's that union when we bring all of the arts together. Wow. And it's all about that coming together, creating together, utilizing the gifts and the cultures that represent each direction of the world, that helps our whole planet begin to believe and love ourselves, so that we can love and respect each other, and opens up this huge vortex of healing, love, and forgiveness for all of us.
Wow. That sounds amazing, Kelly. Thank you so much. And so, Gary, what did you think of our stories? Well, you're muted. Got to give yourself voice.
I love them. I love your poetic spirit, Shannon. It's so beautiful. And everything that was said, beautifully said. Kelly and Kathleen, what a articulate and beautiful conversation being engaged with. You know, what I'm thinking about is that we really don't yet understand what the indigenous people have understood since the beginning of time, which was that sound carries intention in mysterious and powerful ways. And so that story that Kathleen, you shared about, really, I reflected on what you said. And I think that I woke up this morning and I am in a state of surrender because I'm relocating to North Carolina. And the amount of detritus in my head is going crazy. And I needed to, this morning I just went, okay, all wounds, all parts, all voices, all concerns, all worries, I call you home and I surrender it to God, and please God, take care of this because I can't do it, right? and I need to be in radical surrender to the recognition that I cannot do this alone. And I am alone, in terms of being one person without a partner in this time of my life. So I do think that the frequency that results from the personal work that we all do to make that massive shift from me to we, this is what we're doing as on every scale. But it's really important where inner peace comes from is to experience the me to we internally, as we talked about the inner peace. Did they come from a fight as they're walking into the orchestral room, right? So I think that we can't even fathom the depths at which we need to recall ourselves. And I just want to do this experiment because I want to show you how amazing this is. Just going to play something while I'm talking. Here we go. So watch this. So even just playing music with tons of space signals something in my frequency that wants to surrender my ego into something that connects me to all of you in this moment. And so there isn't anyone in living form that doesn't need to feel the power of how music unifies us into an elevated state of connection to the one. Now listen. This time dilation capacity that music has to suspend our consciousness into a what if the we is the only truth and the me is the ultimate delusion we're fooled into every moment of every day that we're asked to call forth into something higher and bigger and more unified. And you can feel the resonance of the in-between of these notes seems to call something in us that's so much more powerful than the me. Right? And then suddenly there's no such thing as a pregnant pause. Suddenly it's the only thing that matters. That innate sense of belonging to the ring out of life. And you need so little. These individual notes, Kathleen, I created this, improvised this to Sarah McCrum's spoken word. And it's her frequency that made me rise to the occasion where all I needed was these individual notes in the moment. But then you take her words away and suddenly I get the chills just saying this. It awakens me to these thoughts about the ultimate destiny we all have. To the journey from me to we is the journey of our lives. And that's the destiny that music can help us fulfill.
Oh, Gary, that is so beautiful. And what it brings to mind is something that came up in one of the sparkling conversations just yesterday, I think. It used to be me or you. Then it became me and you, or you and me. And finally, it's you are me.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're moving into.
And then we are we.
That's right.
Yeah.
The me that we are is the one we are that I talk about and I talk to when I'm alone.
Yes.
And that is, it gave me chills too. Yeah, very effectively delivered, Gary. Thank you so much. I'd like to now.
Kathleen has something she wanted to
I
say.
would love to. Just
Please.
First of all, I love this because it is what I teach musicians all the time in my coaching and in my master classes. It's not about the amount of notes you play. My first aha, besides when I was 4 years old and touching the keys and I had a portal, was when I was 13 years old. My piano teacher's daughter, who was 4 years older than I, every summer she would babysit this little boy, Duncan, and she would drive to their house in the town next, and I would go. And there was a piano in the house, and Duncan knew I played. And one day he met me at the door, and he says, "Oh, will you come to the piano with me? I want to show you something." And I said, "Of course." And he walked over to the grand piano, and he played 2 notes. Played a C, I think he played a C and an E, and then he played them together. He looked up at me with these beautiful big brown eyes, and he said, "Isn't that beautiful?" And in that, Gary, right, he heard between the notes, he heard the world that was there.
Right.
He just embodied it.
And it's simplifying, right? It's
Right. It was the
coming.
simplification. Yes.
Right.
So, yeah.
Well, absolutely. Oh, that's wonderful. The simplicity of childhood and showing us the way. I love that. And Kathleen, I had a question for you, and each one of you a single question, and then we're going to jazz it up a bit. So, Kathleen, the question that I have for you is, how can we use music and sound to align ourselves with the universe's rhythm?
Well, just simply, first of all, breath. Breath is the most important thing. And we get, a lot of times when we get inspired and we get all excited and we get up in our heads with music and excitement and joy, not just music, but we have here, important thing is to ground it, embody it. And I think music is one of the most powerful tools for embodiment because we feel the vibrations within us. And at that moment, it is important, essential to begin deep breath work within the center of us, within our channel. And really, we've been talking about Mother Earth. So just inviting everyone, just really breathing in from below, like as if we're breathing up from the center of the earth, air, and in through our feet, the soles of our feet, and up, bringing it into the belly, and then up into the upper lobes of the lungs, and then exhaling it straight up and out like a channel into the cosmos. And then breathing in, and especially breathing in, bringing it back down from high above, as high up as you can imagine, to the center of the crown, down through the throat, your voice, to the soul, into your heart, down into your belly, and exhale it down through your legs, the feet, and down into Mother Earth. And those breaths, several times, I do them often while I'm walking, especially when I'm walking along the river trail, you know, imagining my breath coming from the below where the tree roots are and then going up. But breath and sound. And as we breathe, listen to the sound of your breath. Exhale with your mouth open. And then I invite you all to tone as you exhale. Make a sound, even if it's just an ah. Begin to invite sound in. That's the beginning of your musical instrument. That's all you
Oh, that's delicious. It feels like it should taste. Thank you so much. And moving on to Kelly, um, it in what ways can you see the Pearl Stonehenge project inspiring global coherence?
It gives us the opportunity to personally become involved in something that's really big. And it's teaching people how to connect with the earth and all of the elementals because of these giant, massive stones that will be holding the paintings from Ahumbaletcha Vision Quest, where I was told to paint large to bring healing to the people. It's that color. And when they're projected, that light in union with the heartbeat of the people with the drumming creates this vibration that is in union, the union vibrations coming together. The arts carry us in a way nothing else can, because we are often restricted when it's just verbal communication. As Isadora Duncan said, the pioneer of modern dance, if I could say it, I wouldn't have to dance it. So as we become a part of these huge giants of stones in this relationship of learning how to listen to the earth and realizing we are not spirits or humans trying to be spiritual, but spirits trying to be human. We start to merge with nature, with the environment, the greatest creation there is. And we are brought into a new zone. I used to work with high-risk populations, and we did arts programming with visual and performance arts and prisons and high-risk settings. And we did it as a community, and we engaged the staff counselors throughout that 3-month process of creating together. And the women at the women's prison would forget they were in prison, because we're lifted into a higher level of being. We forget who and where we are, and we become one. That's what the arts do for us. It changes everything. And the other thing that is direct connection with creativity is laughter, humor. It produces the same chemical in the brain, creativity and humor. They're almost the same thing. So when we're rejoicing, when we're laughing, and we are in the buzz, it opens our hearts to feel safe to create. Because as beautiful and powerful as the arts are, they can also be damaging if not nurtured and opened up in a beautiful way for everyone to know that we all have beautiful gifts to share. Even if we're just whistling in the shower or humming while we're making our bed, that changes the vibration of who we are, to feel safe and included. To me, that's what brings us together, is that opportunity to co-create and to enjoy and love life as we laugh together.
Oh, thank you, Kelly. To be lifted together in a shared experience, that does feel very coherent to me. Thank you so much. And Gary, how do you envision a coherent universe, and what steps can we take other than a Pearl monolithic event? What steps can we take to create it? Oh, turn on your mic.
To do the basics. Sorry, I get so inspired I forget to do the basics. You know, you're like a shill in an audience for my content. I can't believe a perfect question to ask for me. Because I literally just finished yesterday the website that offers our 2-minute transformances that were created for, Sarah and I created these 2.5-minute performances for the beginning, middle, and end of global seminars, right? And it was a direct response to that question, Shannon. It's like, how can we together in the field create a way that will allow all of us who are, let's face it, we are all, many of us, most of us are addicted to the control, the certainty, and the speed of the linear rational mind. I mean, my God, if somebody said that you had a way of actually engaging in the world that's like, and not kill yourself in the process, that's the linear rational mind. The control, the speed, and the certainty, it creates the illusion that thinks we're all here, we're using our mind, we're using our words, we're using everything, right? When you create a moment of beauty and biophilia infused entrainment and an opportunity to slow down, I love, Kelly, what you said. The corollary to what you said is you forget where and who you are, and at the same time, we remember who and why and where we are simultaneously, and because it wakes us up. And that's why I just want to share this picture of the first page of my new website that that is so exciting to me, because it's basically the answer to that question, and it's here. It's these experience the power of presence through portals of awe. I hope I don't sound shamelessly promotional, guys. I constantly do this, but literally we launched this yesterday, portalsofawe.com/unity. And for 60 days, we're giving free access to the answer to your question, Shannon, which is, how can we experiment together in acknowledging that we're all addicts of the linear rational mind? It's so tempting, right? But what if we suspend disbelief and allow 2 minutes of beauty, entrainment, and suspension of time and space as only music can, and to experiment with how does that change this cell in the unified field of existence, the me, and what happens that we can surrender to that changes things in the me to we journey, right? So that's where I'm actively involved in trying to go across enemy lines and do some reconnaissance work that will take us addicts into the obsession of all the attributes we love about the linear mind, which I don't want to knock it, it's wonderful, but to let music have its way with us and beauty have its way with us. John O'Donohue calls beauty the silent embrace. That's what I recommend should be one of the spokes of the wheel of the responses to this addiction that's culturally pervasive wherever we are, and that has gotten us into the challenge and the chaos and the problems that we face. The Cartesian delusion has gotten us into a lot of trouble. I think, therefore I am is not quite the description of reality in my view, and that's what we're all learning together. So that's what I would say.
Thank you so much. You know, and when I was creating the show flow, I had envisioned that it would be just everybody would, stay in their boxes, and everybody would, we'd do this all by rote. And the next section, I would have it, well, okay, let's jazz this up. But you've already walked all over the lines, and really there are no lines. And so to go to the show flow for this, let's jazz this up. I've got a couple of questions for all of you, and I welcome you to break the pattern as you are inspired. The first question is, how do we stay true to our own inspired paths and honor the inspired paths of others?
That's such a great question.
Really important. That's a really important question.
Well, I'm going to reserve the other one for later. So let's engage with that one first. How Do you imagine we stay true to our own inspired paths and honor the inspired paths of others? And who wants to go first?
I just want to say that one of the ways is what you're doing right now, which is you've given the three of us and whoever's watching this the opportunity to be inspired by these gorgeous expressions of the divine called Kathleen Riley and Kelly Boone, and seeing, I get the chills just like,
And Gary Malcolm.
and the awe of how this being, Kathleen, has taken her call or Kelly's call into these beautiful, grains of sand in the celestial universe of what we came here to do and how we're following our marching orders. That is such a beautiful way, Shannon, and that's what you do so beautifully. You create community that offers opportunity to be inspired beyond the confines of our egoic life. So I just want to honor that who you are as a convener of the magic that happens from inspiring others to see what other people are doing is such a beautiful answer to that question. One of the many answers one could have.
Yeah. I think what's important when we go back to the theme of coherence is to remember that we must really tame the ego mind. And it's to be in connection with our higher soul self. Because, I teach, okay, that we have three brains in the body, right? The gut brain, the enteric brain, the brain of the heart, which is more powerful than the brain in the head. And I always tell everyone, okay, the brain in your head is this masterful computer when it's listening to the two other brains. But this one gets a little loud and bossy at times and wants to have its way. Like, nobody can relate to that, right?
Right.
And so it decides to run amok, and these two go, brain isn't listening to us anymore. And that's when we have to be careful, because it's, we came in as to this human existence as energy compresses and compresses and compresses into form. Remember that through all those fields of energy vibrates, everything has sound. So sound vibration came together to create us. Okay, we get here, we're on planet Earth. That's where ego gets developed. So it's okay. The tricky line is, why is that embodiment so important? To remember the truth of who we are, which is the inside of us. So that's where I teach and embody bring the tools of heart math and the tools of the Mortar Institute. I'm an energy codes coach and certified bioenergetic synchronization technique practitioner. And I bring these tools into the teaching so that people learn how to do this, walking as the instrument, be the instrument that's in tune. All the strings of you.
Yeah.
But Kathleen, be the instrument that's ever becoming in tune. It's a constant state of evolution and becoming.
Correct.
Right. So if we insist that we be in tune, it becomes that perfectionism that actually is negative narcissism in its own way,
Well,
so
it's also checking in with the gunk that will show up in the energy field. So we are energy. And so in either the mental, emotional, etheric area, as well as physical, we're going to get out of tune. Yeah. Awareness is key.
Yeah.
I believe that this is a process of letting go, because first we develop and we learn to listen and believe in ourselves and move forward. But for me, it has been also a complete flattening, bare, empty, screaming out in my medicine wheel in the wee hours of the morning and the blackness of the night, because I don't understand what Creator wants me to do if I don't use my gifts, which is what I was being asked to do. Why would you ask me to do this and then say, don't do it?
Yeah.
And it was soul wrenching. And I finally said, okay, fine. And the next morning when I woke up, Spirit said, it's not that you aren't going to use your gifts. It just isn't the right time for this part. And we have to be willing to let go of our piece in it,
I love that.
because it's not about us. It's about we. The other piece of that, because everything in life is that yin and yang, and the balance of how to hold that space, is to realize and know, because when we're challenged, it helps us to be more clear about what we really believe and what we feel our purpose is. So it's that motion of working through the flow and holding the integrity of our purpose, but not to the point of not co-creating. So allowing that processing, that time and listening. And I'm telling you, laughter helps a lot during these gatherings, because it opens the playing field for the creativity. There's no wrong answer. In fact, our first answer is usually the worst. And so it's learning how to open it up. And sometimes that's hard, especially when that's your baby. And listening, and then taking the time to step back. And this just happened in my group that's working on the core of the pearl. And everything was being thrown out in the carpet to be talked about, which is good, because we need to do that. We need to see, okay, what is really important? What is the heart of this? And how can this expand in a new way? Because this is not me doing this. This is we. So it's creating the balance, letting go to receive the new.
Oh, this is
And more
exciting,
beautiful
Kelly.
than anything any of us could do on our own.
Perfect.
Absolutely. And really yes, Gary.
Just one thing that
No,
Kelly
no.
said.
Yeah.
So Kelly, you said usually that first is the worst, right? That thing. The only place where I not disagree, but offer an alternative to that is many people use their mind to diss their imagination, which is often, in my case, when I'm composing, which is my whole life. Since I've been 5 years old, I touched the piano, and the first time I touched it, I was composing, because I knew it was home, right? But sometimes the culture we live in doesn't have a culture that supports opening up the gates of one's creativity. So I find that when I allow myself, it's the first one is generally when I'm creating, is the best, because it's before my linear rational mind is discriminating or evaluating or comparing, or so it's a kind of, I know you were talking about something else which has to do with the ego. When the ego is primed to make its mark, the first is generally the worst. But there's that. I recently became aware of something when I was working with my creative partner, Hope Fitzgerald, who's created the book called The Infinity Wave. And I always had this story about myself that I wasn't energetically intimate with my energetic body. That when people would say, "How do you feel? Where do you feel this in your body?" I'd go numb. I go, I have no idea, And then suddenly, I realized in this workshop I just did with her on the Infinity Wave that she has, that it was my imagination that was the first step of jumping out of my mind. That is the gateway to my energetic sensitivity to the field. And I went, but it was just, I was dissing it because my linear mind was saying, that's just my imagination. And they said, your imagination is the source of the opening to the energetic intimacy.
That's right.
So I have a lot of facility as a composer going right with the imagination sonically. Mm-hmm. But when I'm talking about being open and creative about like what's going on energetically, in every other area, my mind takes control and stops me. I just had to say that some people who might be listening, it depends on where they are on the spectrum of their comfort with their own creative selves or their own energetic selves. Does that make sense? I'm trying to grab a hold of this myself. So I don't know if I'm saying something that makes sense or not.
We have to be able to trust, and that starts with ourselves. And that's the self-belief. That's the beauty when we worked in the prisons, is we never talked about why they were there. It was peeling back those layers to get to the good stuff, which is really self-love. So yes, you have to believe in yourself and listen. And then when we open that up to the group, we need to also be open to new perspectives of how that might weave together. So absolutely believing in ourselves and those first ignitions of
Right.
spice are so important.
Gosh, what a yummy
Yeah.
group of people this group is, Shannon. My God, what a joy. What a
You know,
joy.
I just want to riff a little on that one. Truly, this experience of creating the sparkling conversations has been so fulfilling. You know, I know that I've been following the conductor's instructions because they have each one of them been so alive and vibrant and so rich. And you know, I had another question, but you guys all answered it. It was, what in the world does it take to make that happen? And so you have taken I love you guys.
We love
and-
you.
Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. You know,
Oh, gosh.
I do have one last question, and it's going to be for each one of you. What needs to be spoken and has not yet been heard?
Mm.
And I'm going to start with Kathleen again.
There are no bad emotions. Every emotion is equal. There are no mistakes. To understand that we come to this life to evolve and that everything is a part of the bus stop of agreements we made to come into this life. All the things that people might think they did wrong, like Kelly, when you were referring to the prisoners and no one talked about what they did to be in prison. We are the soul inside. We are whole. We are healed. And all of this is just to awaken us to the truth of who we are. That is who we are. And so in the shedding of the layers and the allow the tears to come, allow everything to flow, realize that when something happens to you, instead of saying to, say, oh, it's happening for me. Okay, all is well. All is well. And it's an opportunity to go deeper into your soul.
Thank you so much. That's beautiful. Thank you. Kelly, for you?
So years ago, Honda did a study to find out who the most creative people were in their corporation. And what they discovered is that the people who believed they were creative were indeed the most creative people in the organization. So my point is, we are all created to create. Although the three of us are professionals in the arts, you don't have to be professional. You don't even have to be good. Just create, because that's what feeds our soul. It is self-expression. It is the direct pathway to spirit. And so it's so important to embrace creativity in your lives and everything you do. How you prepare your space, what you wear, who you're with. Sing, dance. Why walk when you can dance? Play instruments. I was never taught how to drum, but I have a spiritual drum and I lead things all the time with my drum now. And I believe I am a drummer, so I am. It's important for us to take risks, because I'm telling you, there have been books written on people in prison that some of the greatest leaders in the world are rotting away in prison because they are the risk takers, the creative thinkers, maybe not channeled in the right direction. But we've also given failure a bad rap.
Yeah.
Failure is what ignites creativity, or we wouldn't change.
Yeah.
And when we acknowledge, that was me, my mistake, which we don't like to do in our cultures because that's, admitting defeat. I'm weak. But when I lead ceremony, that's how I lead. I lead by talking about my challenges, my failures, because believe me, there are a lot of them. But that's the pearl, that's the irritant. And if we don't grow through that, where will that precious pearl come from? It's the most beautiful gem on earth because there's nothing you can do to make it more beautiful. So experience and embrace the challenges and allow yourself to grow through that and bring others with you. Share when you're having a hard time. That's what we're here for, to have relationship and to sing and dance and play. Yes, we're all sacred children. That innocence and purity is so important. And as we grow up, we forget to play. So embrace it. And I'm telling you, you'll be laughing all the time because it's everywhere. And you're going to have a great day. And if you forget to do it, just take your shoes off and put them on the opposite feet, because artists see things in a new perspective all the time. And that will force you to do that. And if your feet get uncomfortable or you feel a little funny, just cross them and lean against a wall and they'll look normal again for a little while. And your shoes will last longer. It's like rotating your tires. Anyway, new perspectives are how we grow, how the taking risk and learning how to love ourselves, all while having fun.
9:13 a.m.
Thank you so much, Kelly. Oh, I did not pick you guys. Spirit picked you. I'm so glad to watch the unfolding of the reason why. And thank you so much. And Gary, come on in, talk to us.
Well, I love being last because you guys kind of set the stage for the beautiful truths, and I just get to weave. Thank you, both of you. You're so brilliant and beautiful and saying so many important things. But if you were to ask me and I was the first one would speak, the first thought that came to mind was, in the Bhagavad Gita, the reframing and the reparaphrasing of this part of the Bhagavad Gita is, they ask, what is the most wonderful, 5,000-year-old Hindu text, what is the most wonderful thing, remarkable thing in all of the world? And it's paraphrased, and the answer is, the most remarkable thing in all the world is that everyone will die, but no one ever thinks it will happen to them. And that's been going on for a long time, right? So the big elephant under the rug that is so surprising is that in the same way that I was talking about this head-up normalization of our linear mind, thinking we're all holistic and our hearts and souls and bodies are engaged, when the truth is, unbeknownst to us, we're just coming from the linear mind. The similar denial is going on, where a greater than cognitive understanding of the fact that we will really, spoiler alert, die in the end. Hero dies in the end. We really will disappear. And when we actually feel that, the preciousness of our favorite star of our soap opera called Life as Me, called Gary Malkin, he's the, spoiler alert, the hero's going to die in the end. When we get it, the poignancy, the depth of the preciousness of this miracle of life reveals itself in layers that awakens us to this state that helps us see that we'll never, ever be able to express how grateful we are for the preciousness of the no longer concept, it's a living experience. And that to me is one of the greatest elephants under the rug in our culture that's not stated enough. And that's why I've developed this program called Graceful Passages from Grief to Gratitude. Grief literacy turns out to be one of the most important tools for cultivating the art of human being in coexisting with one another, because the preciousness that evolves out of this understanding that we're going to disappear, So, as you were talking, these phrases came to me, really inspired by both you, Kelly and Kathleen. I just wrote, I don't know what order this should be, but something, awe is the state that awakens us to our humanity. Failure is the mother of all success. Our wounds are the portals to our humanity, and death is the mother of all life. And an understanding of the role that death plays and grief plays in awakening us to that thing you talked about, Kelly, around failure being the catalyst for our greatest creativity, is when we as a culture can mature to the understanding, like what if healthcare shifted from understanding that wounds were instead to be eradicated and symptomatically dealt with so that it didn't cause pain, into the recognition of the gift that our symptoms are, to awaken us to our humanity and to where attention is needed and where curiosity is being invited to call us into the wound, as to say, okay, what do you want from me? Like, I have a terrible foot right now and plantar fasciitis, and I have bad knees right now. You know, the nomad life has not been good on me, easy for me this last year at my age. But it's calling me major and asking me to ask, okay, God, we need a powwow called Gary and his body, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm heading to North Carolina to heal myself. But the shift to really get the wound is the invitation. If healthcare went there, everything would change. Everything. So I don't mean to sound overly simplistic, but I know it's true in my bones. So those are the things that are hiding under the rocks of our culture, that if they shifted, things would radically shift, I think. I know I'm seeing nodding faces with Kathleen and Kelly, so I think you agree with me.
Well, I agree with you too. And the arts, as they emerge from us, they relieve the pressure on us.
Beautiful.
And so we become what we are destined to be
through
the release.
Freeze that moment, record that quote. Shannon said it right there. You got to freeze that one. That's a beautiful one.
Well, we're lucky that it is recorded. And, throughout all of our conversations, we've been having someone listen to us. Lisa Ayers.
Kathleen had one last thing. Did you want to say, Kathleen?
I would love to just let everyone know, if they don't already, that there is a tremendous initiative right now between National Endowment of the Arts, for the Arts rather, and NIH, and that is being spearheaded by Renee Fleming, a famous concert. She's an opera singer, and it is Music is Medicine.
Yes.
And when I've been in conversations with people at Johns Hopkins, I hope to meet with them when I'm in Washington. And, really looking at this, they're finding the effects truly amazing with art therapists and music therapists, that this is really coming to the forefront. And there are so many hospitals and so many people embracing this and having it in their facilities. So we're making headroads big time.
Excellent. So maybe a clip of what I said would be, send that off to them, and maybe it'll be the catalyst. And who knows, we may change the world with what we're creating here today. And I love that idea. And I'm hoping that Lisa will come into our breakout room, and there she is. Come and talk to us. You were going to tell us, summarize some key points and suggest questions gleaned from the watch party for the interactive afterglow session.
Absolutely. And may I please catch Marco's attention for a quick housekeeping?
Shannon, you should mute. There we go.
Thank you. Marco, as I left the other room, the main room, I realized I had not saved the chat or the captions, and we clearly need to pull some quotes out of this. So Marco, please. And wow, there were some really amazing quotes, I got to tell you. But again, the theme is about unity and co-creation. And that has been one of the themes this entire week. I think
really what it is that we are all created to create, and one person affects the coherence of the whole. So we need to heal. We need to understand our own process of letting go so that we can start co-creating. This is, I think, the message of the entire conversation so far. And so I have so many questions, like, can we just throw spaghetti on the wall and make art together? This is the co-creative process, but we need to let go of so much to be able to do that. Being open in a group, full of trust and humility and empathy, those are big words that actually we as humans often find very difficult to step into. So how do we get there? I loved Why Walk When You Can Dance. And I believe I'm a drummer, so I am a drummer. I believe I can co-create, so I do co-create, right? That concept is so important. And the courage to be wrong, to admit failure, and to be able to embrace that and move forward. I think this is the key of the message today, and I'm looking really forward to chatting with the audience about it.
Wonderful.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you so
Real
much,
quick, I
Lisa.
just want to
Yeah.
mention the meaning of the courage. Core is heart, and edge means to speak from.
Yeah.
Thank you
And
so
that's
much.
what we're
always do
doing.
that.
Courage. Man, sometimes walking into the things that Spirit asks us to do, it takes a lot of courage. And you guys have done that over and over and over again in your lives. And thank you so much. And thank you for the courage of coming into this sparkling conversation. And I also want to thank our tech team, Michael Kraus and Mark Karen, and the host of this space, Marco Elsterman. I also want to thank Michael, the producer of EarthStock. This has been an amazing experience. Doing my part, the sparkling conversations, but everything that's going on globally broadcast and here in the location in Crestone, Colorado. Last night we had the elders create a cacao ceremony, and the wisdom and eloquence of our elders. We have such a beautiful the instruments that are available within the symphony that is being orchestrated. You know, I talk about Mom, the magic in ordinary moments that guide us. She is the conductor from my perspective, you know, and each one of us can call the conductor by whatever name we like, because the conductor knows who we're talking about. And so I invite everyone to delight in addressing the conductor in the name that speaks the language of your heart. And thank you so much for being a part of this production. I want to invite everyone to go to Facebook, EarthStock. All of the sparkling conversations and more are all shared there. We're going to be going to the Afterglow to join the conversation that has been going on all the time that we've been talking, and join our audience. And yes, Lisa, you're quite right. YouTube Live is out there, and I'm sorry, you guys, you couldn't talk with us while you were watching on YouTube Live or Facebook Live or any of the remote locations. You need to come and talk to us at theconversation.cc so we can talk together with these beautiful people. Kathleen Riley, Kelly Boone, and Gary Malkin. Thank you so, so much for all you are and all you do. This has been a pleasure. And it's a wrap. Thanks very much. We're just going to go and join them in the main room of theconversation.cc. Thank you so, so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
I'm